We know from the IdeaStream Listening Project survey that our audience thinks of the lake as one of the region's top assets, which makes the health of that body of water all the more important. What we don't see here is western Lake Erie's algae bloom. It's in full swing and the water there is a sickly green. Great Lakes Today's Elizabeth Miller recently spent a day taking a closer look at the algae bloom problem and some of the people trying to solve it, and she joins us here now. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Obvious question, what's in the jar?
Yeah,
I don't think I want to know.
You don't. You don't want to drink it or swim in it. It's water from Lake Erie, specifically from the Maumee Bay near Toledo. It's green, it's scummy, which means algae, and it means microcystis. This was collected by Dave Spangler, who's vice president of the Lake Erie Charter Boat Association. And it's important to note, this is from last week. But the water is still green over in Toledo and over near the Western Basin and in Sandusky Bay.
We look at that and you say it's last week, but I think about 2014, all the problems that Toledo had.
Yeah, well, the good thing to know is that this doesn't affect the drinking water in Toledo. It looks bad, it's not good to swim in, you don't swim in it, but it's still okay to drink. I know looking at that, it doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't.
But the microcystin levels are very, very small near the Toledo water intake. But earlier this month, the water quality was on watch, which means the water is still safe to drink, but there are high levels of microcystin near the water intake. And since we're in Cleveland, it's good to know that this does not impact Cleveland's water at all. If you go to Edgewater Beach, you probably won't see that.
Yeah, we don't see what we're seeing there. That's really,
Exactly.
really green. Okay. Now, you mentioned the tour that you took, the National Wildlife Federation. You were out on a boat on the water.
Yeah. So it was a day-long tour with reporters, researchers, and environmentalists, kind of looking at some of the solutions. Well, first we looked at the problem, of course, and we went out on a boat with Don McGee on his boat called the King and I. You didn't even have to get on the boat to see the algae. It was all over the Maumee Bay State Park Marina. Don McGee's been fishing Lake Erie for over 30 years, and he says talking so much about the algae bloom hurts his business, but he'll do whatever it takes to fix it. Here's what he had to say.
We have to have this lake, not just for my business, but my family. I couldn't live anywhere else. I thought about Florida. I think about people in Florida now, but I thought about living, taking a couple months and living in Florida. I'm retired, so I couldn't do it. I can't leave the lake. That's how much I love it.
And he's one of a group of charter boat captains that takes samples weekly of the lake.
Got to feel sorry for Don and for really anybody who's using that water right there. That's the problem. What are the things we're doing to correct it now? There have to be some solutions in the wind.
Yes, there is hope, I promise.
Okay.
So we went and visited a wetland restoration project, and this was funded with Great Lakes restoration money, which we've talked about a lot here on the show, but completed by Ducks Unlimited. So this was almost 1,500 acres of wetlands. And wetlands are great because they filter the water from farmland and other land before it gets to the lake. And the Ohio EPA says that we've lost, as a state, Ohio has lost over 90% of its historic wetlands. So it's really important to get those wetlands back to where they need to be. We also went to visit a farm, Jerry Whipple. He's a 71-year-old farmer who is kind of like a trendsetter in terms of other farmers, because he's been using a lot of these conservation practices, what we call best management practices, since the 70s, which are some things that the federal and state government are just now starting to fund for farmers.
Now, last week was also a busy day for the lake in terms of legislation. There were public hearings for the Ohio Draft Domestic Action Plan. That's kind of a strategy to reduce nutrients. What's going on there?
Yeah. So first, the U.S. and Canada have this goal. We want to reduce phosphorus by 40% by 2025. So to get to this goal, we need a plan. So the Ohio's plan is just a part of all the states around Lake Erie developing a plan. And this includes different strategies to kind of reduce phosphorus, whether it's through agriculture, whether it's through wastewater treatment plants and stuff like that. And so I went to a public hearing last week on Ohio's draft plan, which got released last month. And so during the meeting, I heard that a lot of people wanted accountability for farmers. And I talked to Gail Hess, who's with the National Wildlife Federation. She wants to know whether the actions in this plan would actually reduce phosphorus and by how much. Here's what she had to say about that.
There's a lot of proposed actions in that plan and a long list of things that they propose to do. However, there's not much in the way of analysis or analytics or projections or estimates about how any of those proposed actions add up to meet the 40% reduction target. And so that's why I say I use the metaphor that looking at that list of actions, it reads like a grocery list, but there's no recipe for how it all comes together in meeting that reduction target.
Good to know there's hope, though.
Yes, definitely.
Elizabeth Miller, thanks so much.
Thanks.